Howdy, my darling Aquarius. How are you doing, friend? I'm here to give you your tarot message for today and see what you're manifesting, what to be looking out for. You know, just a general tarot reading, friend, right? You know, some spirit guides, some channel messages along the way, some intuitive messages, some predictions, perhaps. Aquarius, if we're feeling greedy, feeling spicy. But yeah, if you look down below as well, friend, you'll notice some timestamps because I understand, Aquarius, not everybody cares about their social life or wants to even be hearing about it, right? Or not everybody has people that they are dealing with, right? So I like to always make sure I cover the basis for everybody, make my readings all inclusive. So the first part of this tarot reading is going to just be the general aspect, and then the other part is going to be, you know, if there's someone that's on your mind, you know, just a general social reading for you, see what might be coming up, if any new relationships, platonic, romantic, or otherwise, are coming in, you know, just from perspective in that regard. So you can check that out down below if that interests you. But let's talk about the most important person for today right now, Aquarius, which is just you and you alone, which very fitting card to be having here, Aquarius, as the first one is the Queen of Pentacles. All right, she's the one that is very unapologetic about, you know, vocalizing her needs, right? Maybe that's something that you need to take note of right now and not feel guilty about it. The best example I always like to make with the Queen of Pentacles as well, Aquarius, is that when you go, if you ever been on a plane and they tell you while you're on the plane, being like, make sure you put your air mask on first before anybody else's, because you can help out other people. You know, you'll be better help if you are able to breathe and help out other folks that are not able to do it themselves. And the Queen of Pentacles, like, before they even get the sentence out, the Queen of Pentacles, like, say no less, friend. You know, I'm gonna make sure I'm breathing first before anything or anybody else, right? And so, yeah, there's like that first message there, Aquarius, where it's like, you know, don't feel bad about asking for help or receiving help. There might be this level of guilt that you feel towards accepting help. And I want you to start working through that a little bit, because I feel like that might even be what prevents some of your spiritual team to be able to bring certain things in, because there's a level of like internal rejection that you have towards receiving help and blessings. You know, for whatever, you know, whatever those reasonings are. Maybe there's people that made you feel guilty, but you know, that's your business, right? That's for you to be thinking about and unpacking personally with you and your therapist, friend, right? But yeah, just some food for thought to be thinking about there, Aquarius. You know, don't feel less guilty about being selfish, right? It's only a bad thing to be selfish is if you're a bad person, right? If I give you $1 million and then I give, you know, Jeffrey Dahmer $1 million, you know, you're going to do a lot, you know, hopefully do a lot more good in the world than what Jeffrey Dahmer would do, right? So unless you are Jeffrey Dahmer, you know, don't feel bad about asking for help, because you know, when good people have good things happen to them, all that's going to happen is that good person is going to spread more good in the world, right? So are you a good person or are you Jeffrey Dahmer? Very stark contrast there, right? But you see where I'm getting my point there with those dramatics, Aquarius, all right? Four of Pentacles, there might even be this sense of like not feeling guilty towards choosing to hold back your energy or your peace towards certain people. You know, it feels to me, Aquarius, where are you like talking to certain folks just because you feel obligated to? All right, Aquarius, make sure you're not doing that. Make sure there's not someone in your life that you're just choosing to like deal with them, even though it's not personally good for you. For whatever the reason is, you know, they could be a good person, but they're just not good for you, Aquarius. You know, they could be a good person, but they could also be a distraction towards like what you're trying to accomplish in your life, right? You know, you might be in a place right now where you're probably evolving from certain friend groups, certain people, whether it's family, perhaps, or people that you associated with being part of your really close circle. That might be a struggle that you have right now, where it's like accepting that, you know, maybe it's time for you to experience a couple of chapters on your own there. You know, don't feel guilty about reserving your energy though. All right, so, you know, remove this sense of obligation towards other people. You can still show love to people without it having to be like, you know, without you having to sacrifice something to show that love. You know what I'm saying, Aquarius? Like, you don't always have to be sacrificing or giving something of yourself to have good relationships. Good relationships should be able to maintain themselves without you having to sacrifice something. And that might be something that you're not used to having to deal with. You might be having to always deal with people where it's like you had to make the sacrifices because otherwise they just wouldn't be around. You always had to be the one to compromise your boundaries. You know, the responsibility doesn't just fall onto you, right? And so I do feel as if right now that's the big habit that you're actively breaking energetically. And so the sooner you accept that aspect there, the sooner you're able to break that cycle and begin the next lesson there. All right. You know, if you really want to start the next stage and get things going in your life, start looking at that. You know, and what happens after the fact there for you, Aquarius? Let's say that you complete this chapter, you know, what are you going into next? The good, the bad, the ugly, but, you know, hopefully more good than bad or ugly. So the Star, the Eight of Swords coming in here, and then one more, Six of Cups. Some major clarity is going to be coming in here in your life when it comes to a big goal of yours. That star really symbolizes Aquarius, where, and this is you as well, by the way, so you're showing it very strong here. But to me, it's like there's like either been like a long-standing project in your life that you have been really stuck on, that you haven't really been knowing how to, apparently I don't know proper English anymore. There's something that you have been wanting to accomplish or put more energy into, but you just didn't really know what the next right move was, perhaps. Be paying attention in the next couple of weeks here. I feel like some type of big answer or clarity is going to be coming in, especially if you're a more spiritually oriented person. Aquarius, that Six of Cups really symbolizes to me, especially when it comes to like your dreams, you know, there definitely seems to be something pretty spiritually significant towards whatever this breakthrough is associated with here, Aquarius. But let's see if we can explore this a little bit more. Seven of Swords, whatever it is, it's something where to me, Aquarius, what this energy is about is like you hit like a pretty big bump on the road. And because of that bump on the road, you haven't really been able to like make as much forward momentum in your life as you've been wanting to. And so after that bump on the road, it feels to me as if you've been in this place of where you've been spending all this time trying to keep your head above water, but at the same time, you're still trying to be like that present friend, that present lover, that present family member, sibling, whatever, for all these other people, because all these other people are just so used to you self-sacrificing and being there for them. And you don't want to disappoint them. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you don't really have nearly half the people checking in on you, trying to make sure you're good, you know, and maybe that's not something you want either. Maybe, you know, you're just wanting to be on that lonesome journey, which is okay. That's how I am, you know. It's like the last thing I want to be doing when I'm going through something is talking to you and my friends about it, because it's like, it's just gonna make me feel worse. You know, it's still dealing with it, you know. I know what I need to do. I don't want to be thinking about it, you know what I'm saying? So that might be your prerogative, and that's okay. And you need to be okay with just simply saying, it's like, hey, I just, you know, I don't want the responsibility of having to be a good friend right now, because I gotta put all the energy on me. You know, later down the road, we can reconnect, you know. Just don't, I don't know. That's like really like the main theme here for you, Aquarius, is like feel less guilty about being selfish. Vocalize your needs, and what's meant to be there is going to stay there. But whatever has that tower moment, you know, let it fall where it needs to fall. You are going to be going into a chapter naturally when you have that full energy showing up. Like, you're going to be showing up with less than what you started with there, right? So doing this, certain relationships in your life, you know, certain karmic relationships, certain people that, you know, you thought were going to be part of your life for a long time, maybe you just simply have outgrown them, Aquarius, and that's okay. You know, nothing has to be wrong with them, nothing has to be wrong with you. You're just outgrowing them. And, you know, that's really just the nature of this. It's like, while you're in your cocooning process, you'll notice how you'll pay attention to the outside world and how it reacts to your cocooning process. And you'll know, like, I feel like that's going to be like the most interesting thing, is like you observing how the world reacts to your cocooning process. So facilitate that environment for yourself sooner rather than later. Vocalize those needs. All right, and if you were to vocalize those needs, Aquarius, what do you end up manifesting here? Let's see. Page of Swords, Six of Wands here, and then the Knight of Pentacles. To me, that like I'm not talking about any energy that you don't that's not already familiar with you, Aquarius. In fact, I feel as if I'm connecting to someone or an energy of folks that are either spiritual practitioners themselves or just have a pretty deep relationship when it comes to their own personal energy, which is enjoyable to connect to. It's very refreshing to see in a tarot reading here, right? But I know I'm not talking to anybody that's not, I'm not connecting to anything that's telling you something new that you didn't already on some level know. This is more so going to be like an affirming reading where, like you're just going to be nodding your head yes, like all according to plan here. Like, I don't know, you're a very aware, self-aware person, Aquarius, and I feel like I always gas you up in that way, right? I feel like anytime when it comes to you Aquarians, like you're my most complex sign, you guys are always my most chaotic there, but I still enjoy you the most because even though it's chaotic to everybody else, it's like there's a method to the madness to you, and that's kind of just where you thrive the most. I always call you my mad scientist of the zodiac signs there. But yeah, to me, Aquarius, it's like you have a pretty good idea of like how things are going to play out. For the most part, you kind of just needed like an outside affirming or affirmation perhaps of saying that it's okay to be that Queen of Pentacles, that it's not you being delusional, cynical or whatever. It's like, no, you need to have this time for yourself. You need to be able to speak your needs, even if it inconveniences other people, because the only people that's going to inconvenience are people that you probably are just simply outgrowing again. So yeah, that's what I see here for you, Aquarius, when it comes to your general life. Like you have you're doing all the right things for the most part. Now it's just time to like pull the trigger in terms of like, I don't know if you were about to be going through like just a major hermit mode where it's like you commit like the next couple of months towards really grinding something out, or whatever the case is, right? You can let me know if you feel like sharing your business like that, Aquarius, in the comments. But yeah, friend, let's start taking a look now in terms of your social life, Aquarius. This is the time for you to start thinking about somebody. You'll see if I'm connecting to them, but also I'm going to be doing a spread for any type of new energy that comes in as well, right? If there is, maybe you're not dealing with anybody actively right now. So, yeah, let's get into this here. Firstly, for the Aquariuses that are dealing with somebody right now that, that they have on their mind, Four of Wands, Four of Pentacles, Nine of Wands here. Back of the deck is the Justice in the reverse, that Libran energy here. All right, Aquarius. I like this energy a lot. It's not just because I'm a Libra as well, and so me showing up here. No, to me, I like this energy a lot, but this, to me, is like symbolizing a sense of where you're able to acknowledge somebody being like a really good person, and they probably were like a good person for you for quite some time, but I feel as if your path is going to be like breaking off from theirs for a little bit of a period. All right. I feel as if for you, the best course of action that you can be taking is telling this person and saying, hey, I love you, but I got to do this journey on my own right now. All right. I even hear intuitively as well. So maybe this is something that Aquarius needs to hear. Because you are only making the choice of choosing to go within, and separating yourself from folks right now because you don't want to ask for help, or you don't want to like inconvenience them, and I want to just be saying, like, vocalize it, give them a chance to prove themselves, right? Message them, Aquarius, and be like, hey, like, do you want to hang out this, try to make plans with them and see gauge their response, gauge how much they try, and maybe that's going to help make your decision whether or not you want to include them in on this next chapter of your life here, right? Because I do feel like you're about to be going through something pretty important, in a positive way. I think it's going to be something that's really important for you, and the last thing you need in your life right now, Aquarius, are relationships that take energy. Obviously friendships, romantic relationships, family, siblings, it all takes work, right? But it's not always going to be work. Sometimes, the best relationships are the ones where it's like you can go without talking for months, sometimes years at a time, and pick back up as if nothing ever happened, as if there's no time that escapes between the two of you, right? So that's what I see there, right? Aquariuses that are, outside of that, what's going on here for you. Well, there's this Two of Swords. There's the path branching off, like I was saying there, Aquarius. King of Cups showing up as well, and then that Four of Cups there. what I will be telling you, Aquarius, is don't be too committed towards being that hermit when you go into this new path here. All right. I do see, again, like as I was talking about, you choosing to reserve your energy, yada, yada, yada. You know, we already, heard me say it like 30 times. But I will say, don't feel committed too much to that identity, because I feel like once you do commit to that new path, someone shows up not too long after the fact where I feel like you could even be frustrated, be like, okay, like I just now, got all this time to myself. Why is this new person trying to, talk to me, whatever here. All right. And now obviously you can make the choice of what you want to do with these people, this is your own life to be living here. But I will tell you, friend, that um I wouldn't ignore people. Don't be too addicted to the identity of being a hermit, that when you're on this new path and people try to approach you, that you choose to still maintain being a hermit, because there's a few people that you're meant to be walking this path with that they're new entirely. And I don't know, I wouldn't resist it. Now, obviously you can, and I feel like you still be just as successful down your path, but why choose to do it alone when you can have a good support system of people that are able to understand the same things that you're going through as well, and maybe help you out on said journey there, right? Because Fool energy coming in here, the Knight of Cups coming in, and then one more, the Ace of Swords coming in. You are due for some new relationships. You are due for some new folks and some new territories here, Aquarius. So like it or not, friend, even though you are going to be reserving your peace and time and energy for yourself from, the folks that already know you, some of that time for yourself is going to be spent towards connecting to new people who relate to the same interests that you are currently exploring in your life. All right, Aquarius. So again, don't be too addicted to the idea of maintaining in that identity of being a hermit during this next portion of your path there. All right. So that's what I have for you today, Aquarius. I hope this helped in some level. For some reason, I feel like I called y'all a Gemini at some point in this reading, which if I did, I do apologize, Aquarius. But yeah, I love you so much, my friend. If you want to book a private tarot reading with me, you can just look down in the description box down below, where my website is. It's just SimplyVelca.com. And if there was a moment in here that gave you like a little bit of aha light bulb moment or something that really resonated with you, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. But yeah, I love you so much, Aquarius. I almost just called you Gemini there. I love you so much, Aquarius, and I'll connect to you sometime in the near future. Bye, friend.